Welcome back to Startup Talk. I'm your host, the startup coach and founder of TorontoStarts, one of the largest startup communities in Canada. And with me today is Siavash Shakarian of Shakarian Law. And today we're talking about the Canadian Startup Visa Program. Welcome, Siavash.
Thank you very much, Greg. Happy Monday. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, it's a beautiful Monday so far, and it's great to have you. And it's always great to talk about immigration and the Startup Visa Program. But first of all, why don't you tell us about Shakarian Law?
Well, Shakarian Law is a law firm. We're a team of 11 people. We are a law firm with a very, very intense business focus. And our target market is helping foreign entrepreneurs come to Canada and set up or buy businesses here.
Fantastic. So let's jump right into it. And before we do, anybody who's in the chat room or live on YouTube, put your questions in the chat or on the Q&A window and we will get to them, please. We want to answer your questions. We will probably answer them all at the end. So we'll hang around, just put your questions in. We don't want you to leave without your questions being answered. So what is the Startup Visa Program and why does it matter?
Okay, we're starting with the most difficult question, right? Because what is the start? Well, the visa is obvious. It's a misnomer in the Startup Visa Program because visa usually goes to a permit that you go somewhere temporarily. But the Startup Visa Program in Canada, it's a permanent resident program, but we can get to it. But before talking about what is the Startup Visa Program, what's a startup, Greg?
That's a good question. So a startup is really any sort of new business or new entity that can scale well. Like we don't differentiate specifically in our community. So if you're a small business that doesn't want to scale behind a couple 100,000, we're here to support you. But if you're looking at a startup visa program, you're probably looking at something that can scale to a massive level, a 1 million, well, definitely more than 1 million. I would say 10 million, 100 million plus potential. Otherwise, you're probably not going to get the support of a designated organization.
Well, hopefully, because that's exactly what the government was thinking with the Startup Visa Program. We're saying we don't really define startup, and nobody can really define startup. You know, everybody comes at it with a different angle. But the way that the government of Canada saw startup before designing and implementing the Startup Visa Program was, for us, startup is something that is, as you pointed out, it's something that can scale. But why does that matter for us? Because if something scales, they can create jobs, and if they create jobs, it leads to a better economy, and that's why we like it. So the Startup Visa Program, in essence, is the program that aims to attract innovative, high potential entrepreneurs who are working on, then again, innovative ideas. But does the law describe and define innovation? No. Who does? And then we're going into the details of the Startup Visa Program. For the Startup Visa Program, anybody can apply as long as they have a project, idea, or a business that can get the support of a designated organization. Who are designated organizations? They're either incubators, angel investors, or venture capitals. So let's say I'm a foreign person, I want to come to Canada, apply for permanent residency. First, I have to contact one of these designated organizations. And if they agree to give me a letter of support, that's requirement number 1 for the Startup Visa Program. With that letter of support, I just have to show that I have enough money to come to Canada and settle for the first year. Very low threshold for a family of 1 is about $14,000. And it's a chart that I can share the link with you and you can share with your audience. So 1, letter of support, enough money to settle in Canada. Language requirements, you need to have a CLB 5, and that's around IELTS 5. So again, very basic English requirements, and a qualifying business. By qualifying business, what do we mean? The business that gets the letter of support from a designated organization and wants to come to Canada has to have more than 50% of its voting shares owned by applicants, and applicants can be 1 to 5 people, and designated organizations. So basically, if you want to be a qualifying business, more than 50% of the voting shares should be owned by the group of applicants and the designated organization that is giving them the letter of support. So then again, 4 requirements: letter of support, qualifying business, which really goes to ownership of that business, settlement fund, and English requirements. You have these 4, you can apply to become a Canadian permanent resident. And also you can apply to get a work permit because your permanent residency application is going to take some time to process. And as of today, we're talking 32 months, which, for the lack of a better word, a shame for a starter visa program, a time-sensitive program. As you know, innovation is very time-sensitive, but that's the reality right now. So for permanent residency, you're expected to wait in the lines for 32 months. But at the same time, the legal structure allows you to apply for a work permit, use that work permit to come to Canada, start your process sooner, start working on your business sooner, and then transition into permanent residency. So that's the startup visa program in short and how it works.
Great. We already got our first question on the chat room, and we're going to be dealing with it about processing time. So we're going to talk about that a little bit later. What are the qualification requirements for the Canadian startup visa program? You mentioned some of them about the Canadian language, but what are some of the other ones?
Well, the qualification, as I said, it depends how you define them and whose perspective you're talking about. Because as far as the Canadian government is concerned, as far as the law, immigration law portion of it is concerned, is get a letter of support, have the CLB5 English language requirement, have enough money to settle, and have a qualifying business. So as far as the law is concerned, you have these 4 requirements. But as far as the designated organization wanting to give you a letter of support is concerned, everybody defines it differently. For some, innovation means XYZ, for some means XYZ plus this, plus that, plus that, plus that. So everybody gets to come at it from their own perspective, look at their own portfolios. Is this business match with us? Doesn't match with us? Do we want to see the team? Do we care about the team? Do we care about their experience? Do we care about the sector this business is in? That all goes to the decision-making process of the designated organizations that the applicants apply for.
Now, I did a video on the letter of support, getting a letter of support with a VC, with an accelerator program, and with someone else on. And if anybody's interested in that video, email me afterwards. I'll post a link to it. I got to do some editing because we were pretty critical of some of the designated organizations, and we don't want to name names. I got to take some of the things out of that. But if anybody wants that specifically about what they were looking for in letter support, how that letter support goes through, yes or no types of approvals, I have a video specifically get into that. So email me, message me. I'll happily send that. What is the application process like?
Well, it all starts with the designated organization. So if you think you have a business idea, project that is innovative, high potential growth, all of those vague terms that we discussed in the beginning of this interview, if you think you have that, I suggest you go to IRCC websites, and that's the Immigration, Refugee and Citizenship Canada, in charge of implementing immigration laws of Canada. So go to their website, search for the Startup Visa program, and then under there, you see a link that will take you to the list of all designated organizations. So basically, the process starts there. Look at the designated organizations that you think you can pitch your ideas to. And usually, most of them, they have websites. Go to their websites, look at their taste. Is your business something that you feel comfortable pitching it to them? Pitch, and then carry out that process. And then when you have the letter of support, it just becomes the matter of putting your permanent residency application or your work permit application together. So that part 1 of the process is really go after what matters most, and that's the letter of support. And you have to get it from third parties designated by the government. And then after that, just you get your PR application, work permit application, and then you enter the long queue that we currently have.
Great. And I posted a link to the Startup Visa designated organizations in the chat room if anybody really wants that link. How does someone get support from those designated organizations? And is it different for the different types of designated organizations?
Oh, yeah. Legally speaking, if you were getting a letter of support from a venture capital, that letter of support should also come with a commitment to invest at least 200,000 Canadian dollars in your business. If you're getting a letter of support from an angel investor group, that letter of support should accompany a commitment to invest at least $75,000 Canadian into your business. But if you're getting a letter of support from an incubator, there is no legal requirement for commitment to invest in your business. So that's the legal part of it. But then again, how do you get that letter of support? It really matters. You know, I'm an incubator ABC, and I only want to take in businesses that have a proven track record of at least $1 million in revenue for the past 3 years. Or I'm a designated incubator XYZ, and I want to take in businesses and I don't really care. You don't have revenue, just a napkin idea. Well, pay me enough, and there is your letter of support.
That's really not a good route for most people, is it? Just give us the money and
see, that's one of the realities of how this market currently is set up. Because look, as of today, we have 41 designated incubators, we have 9 designated angel investors, and I think we have 25 venture capitals. But if you look at the statistics that we got from the government of Canada under the Access to Information Act, now we know that as of July of last year, 82% of all startup visa program activity belonged to incubators. 15% belong to angel investors, and only 3% belong to venture capital. So the most active in this ecosystem are incubators. And out of those incubators, the most active one, getting 22% of the businesses, is the one that has been named in numerous federal court cases, being proven that they're not abiding by industry standards as determined by their peers. Who are their peers? The rest of the designated incubators and angel investors. So on numerous occasions, it's determined that you're not abiding by industry practice, you're getting the most volume of this business, and you're charging the most exuberant of fees. And then, of course, you know, so you're saying, yes, the startup visa program is actually being used by many that are just wanting to buy a passport and they don't know anything about being a startup entrepreneur. You know, so they just have the money, they pay the money, they get something on paper, they get something, you know, and just looks and sounds, but it's empty inside. But at the end of the day, hey, you know, this is a way to buy a passport. But then at the same time, you have incubators that take you very seriously. They do everything they can to help you succeed in this country, you know, under the circumstances of a startup visa, because at the end of the day, you're in an immigration limbo, right? Imagine you were a VC associate, you were a VC partner, and you're deciding on investing in a very innovative, high potential business, and then you're like, oh, I have to wait 3.5 years for the team to get some certainty vis-a-vis their immigration status, and nobody knows what's going to happen. Because when you get a lot of bogus files, what's going to happen? You know, people are going to, you know, it changes perspectives. It changes the default that an officer looks at your application. When a lot of bad players enter the market, it's natural for an officer deciding on your paper, even if everything's good, they want to doubt you. And when they want to doubt you, they want to say, oh, you're not genuine. And that's the ground, because this is good. I'm going to open brackets here. Under the startup visa program, it's a very mechanical determination, right? Do you have the letter of support? Do you have the English requirement? Do you have the money to settle? Do you have a qualifying business? It seems very mechanical. Then how do they reject you? How do they refuse your permanent residency application? They do it under another section of the act that really says the officer deciding this case should convince himself or herself that the primary intention of the people applying for permanent residency was for the business and not for gaining an immigration privilege. So basically, that's all the activity happening. The officer has to be convinced that you are a genuine entrepreneur. Well, what's the definition of genuine? How do they determine you're genuine? How do they determine that you really want to work on this business and you're not here to buy a passport? Well, that's another gray area that, you know, requires another session of its own. How does that process work?
great points all around. And, you know, they have to figure that out. And how do you frame that perspective, you know, when people are trying to suss out, you know, are you real business? Are you coming in here? Are you just, you know, just trying to get in a sneaky way. Um, who reviews the startup visa program applicants? Is it just people from the designated organizations?
No, it's not. The people from the designated organizations, they often 99% of the time, they don't want to take any responsibility. If they're responsible actors, they don't give you advice on the immigration matters. They just want to say, oh, we reviewed your business. It's good or it's bad. If it's good, we want to take it. We want to support it. And if it's bad, go do this change or that change and then come back again. But who reviews your application for permanent residency or for the work permit? That's Immigration Canada, that's IRCC. And an officer sits down and looks at your application and wants to determine, well, the mechanical side of it, as I just explained, is very simple. Have the letter of support, have this, that. It's very mechanical. But then the majority of the time that an officer spends on a startup visa application, whether it's a work permit or whether it's a permanent residency application, is to figure out, are you the real deal or not? And they have to do it based on, whatever it's before them.
And we mentioned this earlier before we started, but what is a essential person when it comes to the startup visa application process?
When you get an essential person designation, that enables you, as I said, startup visa program allows you to make an application for permanent residency. And permanent residency is, we allow you to come and be a permanent resident in Canada, right? So it's not temporary. But work permit, it's temporary, right? We're allowing you to come to Canada for a specific reason and for a definite period of time. If under the startup visa program, you want to qualify to also apply for that work permit, you have to be designated as essential in the startup group. So let's go at it again. Every startup group can be from 1 person to 5 persons. And each of these persons, if they want to get a work permit, they have to be designated as essential. Who designates them? Well, the designated organization giving the letter of support. The letter of support is a document, it's a form, it's a very simple form. In there, you have designation. Is this person essential or not? If a person is essential, then they can apply for that work permit. But there is a catch. When you are an essential person in a startup group, if the permanent residency application of that person is refused, then everybody else's applications will be refused. And if you want to get that work permit, it's not just a designation, oh, you're essential. You have to explain you're essential to come to Canada earlier than the permanent residency decision of your application. Why? What are the urgent reasons that you want to come to Canada sooner? So you got to be able to define and explain why there is that urgency for which you want to come to Canada earlier. So here's the thing: essential person allows you to apply for that work permit. Caveat is if your application as an essential person application is refused, everybody else applications in that group will also be refused. And you have to explain what are those urgent reasons for which you want to come to Canada earlier than the determination of your permanent residency under your PR application.
And what are the typical things that you've seen that they would apply that would make them essential, that they need to come earlier?
Well, it really is different for every business, right? Some of the very ordinary reasons is I want to come and incorporate in Canada. If COVID taught us one thing, a lot of things can be done virtually, right? And without the need for you to be physically present here. If you have good advisors, if you have a good DO, if you have a good lawyer, if you have a good business consultant, if you have a good team of advisors and networks, honestly, there is a lot you can accomplish without having the need for your physical presence here. But then so many businesses are different. You want to come here and you want to go negotiate. You don't want to lose that face-to-face effects of having a meeting with someone and trying to pitch to them, whether it's an investor, whether it's a supplier, or whether it's a customer. So it really is different for every business. But what is common among them all, they have to sit down and have a very sober determination. And when I say sober, I mean, don't look at it, oh, I want to go to Canada sooner, earlier, right? Because usually when you're coming to Canada, especially from emerging markets, there's a lot of cost associated with you coming here, and that cost assumingly is going out of that business. So you have to make a business decision. Is it better if I use all of that money that I want to be spending in Canada and put it somewhere else, delay my physical presence till my PR decision is made, or no, I can't. I really have to be at that pitch event, which is in person. I have to really be at that event, which I'm, selling to these customers. So it really depends on your business.
You mentioned money. Not only have we talked about processing and application fees and stuff, but you need to come in the cost of coming and living here. So one question is, how much does the process cost? Is there a low and a high? And two, how much money do you have to show that you have in order to be able to support yourself coming here? You're muted. Sorry.
Okay.
Yeah.
As long as how much money you need to show that you have, that would be proof of settlement funds, because the government wants to make sure that, if you're giving you permanent residency, we want to ensure that you have enough money to at least settle, right? So that, as I said, it goes by the number of family members in your family. So if you're a person of one, you need to show that you have $13,310. If you're a family of two, $16,570. Family of three, $20,371. And then it goes on. So that's how much money you need to show you have as settlement funds to check that mechanical requirement. How much does the process cost? Well, the biggest chunk of the cost oftentimes goes to the designated organizations. And I said, we have amazing ones that are giving services, providing services for free. And we have terrible ones that are charging in excess of $100,000 per person. So it really depends where you go. But another thing that you have to pay, regardless of where you go in terms of the designated organization, is the application fee that you pay IRCC. And right now is $2,140 for the main applicant, and under $1,500 for their spouse, and $225 for each child. So the cost is application costs, which is expense out of your pocket, money you need to have settlement fund. And then the biggest chunk of how much I have to budget for, or how much I have to put for this process, really goes to which designated organizations you're working with.
We're getting lots of great questions. Keep them coming. Thank you, everyone. One of the questions I get asked a lot is, what if my business fails after I immigrate to Canada with the startup visa program?
That's a great question, because failure or success, then again, vague terms, but let's just accept them as they are. So let's say business success is not a legal requirement. So nobody judges you on the success of your program, of the success of your business. All we care, as long as as far as the Canadian startup visa program is concerned, is we want to see you genuinely try. So if you genuinely try to make something out of your business, we are happy. And when I say we, policymakers, at least that intention that was there to define something like the Canadian Startup Visa Program, because we are not the only country doing this in the world. There are 25 other countries doing it, but we remain the only country that we give out permanent residency from the get-go. All the other countries, they say, hey, come prove yourself to me first. I'm going to give you a work visa. Come here. And then after 3 years, let me see your reports. Did you make anything out of this business? Did you hit that target? Did you hit this target? Then I decide whether I want to take you to a stream of permanent residency. Canada thought, hey, talent war is real. We got to win it. How do we win it? Let's give them permanent residency from the get-go, which is a good thing and a bad thing. We don't want to discuss that. That's a policy making issue, really. But as things stand right now, we give you that privilege and we say, hey, we don't want your success. We know, we understand 98% of startups, or even more, they fail. But we're after that 2% that they succeed. But we want to make sure that if we're giving you this privilege, we want to make sure that you're genuinely trying. So success, it's not an indication.
Now, you mentioned language requirements. I think you said CLB level 5. I don't know what that is. Is there an softer way of telling us what level of English I need?
Basic. It's okay. Basic. It's basic. It's basic level of English. Like, honestly, the CLB 5 is one of the lowest language requirements that we have in all the 120 or 130 immigration programs that we have. And the reason why we have such a low language requirement for the startup visa program. It's really, to incentivize those entrepreneurs. Hey, you're not comfortable about your English, you're not advanced. It's okay. Do you have a, high potential business that you can bring to this country? But what's really missing is, sure, I don't have good command of either official languages of Canada, but then again, I go to a designated organization that is completely culturally blind to my specific needs of a foreign entrepreneur, despite having a very great business idea, right? So something's always got to give. But from a policy perspective, it's, hey, we want to lower the English requirement because we want to incentivize you to come and apply for the Canadian program. Do not go to the 24 other countries that are doing it because we need you here in Canada. But then, of course, there's something's got to give always.
So we talked a little bit briefly about some of the problems with the program. And our first question came early on. Hey, Siavash, is there any chance that the processing time goes down because 31, 32 months for a startup is much too long? What are your thoughts on the processing time?
Well, that really depends because that's a government thing, right? The Minister of Immigration has the discretion. We, as Canadians, we have given them that discretion. We have given them that discretion. Hey, you get to decide how do you want to define your levels. Right now, the new immigration level plans that the government, that IRCC has tabled, says for 2021, there was 1,000. And when I say 1,000, it's not only startup visa program. Startup visa program is coupled with another federal business program, self-employed program. So all of those programs together, you have a capacity of 1,000. For 2022, it is going to remain 1,000, and then it's going to jump to 1,500 in 2024. So 2022, 2023, we're going to be at 1,000, and in 2024, we're going to be at 1,500. Sobering fact, right now, and as of July 2021, we have 6,442 startup applications in inventory that have not been touched yet. Meaning they're sitting there, we're not touching them. So we're telling you right now, and believe it or not, a month ago, I don't know when they updated it because we look at it frequently. That's one of the stronger programs that we have. And I saw today, and probably it has been changed in the past few days. The government's website is now telling you that the processing time is 32 months. Because before this, they kept the old number, and the old number was 12 to 16 months. So right now, is there a chance for this processing time to go lower? It really depends on the government. How they define their priorities. Do they want more innovators? Do they want more high potential startups like Shopify or Applyboard to come here and create thousands of jobs? Or no, they don't care? Because right now, what it looks like, they don't care about this program as much as they care about other immigration programs, as we are seeing for the capacity that they have for it, and also the processing time that they have for it. But hey, this is a platform, we're raising awareness. Government, if you're looking at it, if you're watching, do something about this because there's a lot of potential here.
Absolutely. We can happy to be critical, but that's just because we're all looking for answers. How do we make it better for everyone? And when you say there's, I think you said 6,000 some odd that are in the queue that haven't been touched. So if we apply now, are we, 6,001, 6,002? Doesn't matter where we go, whether we have a DO, whether we have a VC investing, we just get at the back of the queue and wait.
You get back of the queue and wait. And that's that's another big problem with the startup visa program in particular, but the whole immigration system in general. Nobody cares. Like, I'm a lawyer and I'm dealing with numerous clients, right? And the IRCC treats me very poorly. They call everything that they do lines of business. So you assume, they look at it like business. And in any business, business 101, customer service is paramount. There is none. There's virtually non-existent. You send them an email, 3 months later, you get something generic that doesn't solve anything for you. And now imagine you're doing something genuine. Right, and this is the problem that I have with Canadian immigration system as it's being implemented right now. It invites you not to be genuine, right? Because if you're a genuine business person and you're working on your startup and you're trying to, negotiate, and being a startup entrepreneur is particularly difficult, right? Because you're in a risky venture already. Sometimes more traditional brick and mortar businesses, so you're dealing with less risk. But as a startup entrepreneur, you're doing a million things at the same time, and time is important, and you need someone that is accountable to you. You know, you're paying thousands of dollars to the Canadian government for processing your application. So you expect, if you're sending them something, hey, my situation changed. You know, yesterday this person was essential, but today we decided he's better to stay back home, but I come for this and that. They don't get back to you. That customer service, that kind of line of communication that you need to be, okay, I'm going to a country, Canada, it's great, I want to take my startup there. Hey, look at how they're treating me, you know, from step one, you know, they're responsive, they really want me there. Well, the government side of it is totally gone. Designated organizations, you know, those, most of them, unfortunately, well, when I say most of them, most of the active ones, they don't care either. They just want to get your money and say, hey, wait, this is how it is. So if you just imagine you're a genuine entrepreneur, you're like, why Canada? You know, there's France, you know, they give me a free grant, they give me free office space, they give me free mentorship. There's Chile, same thing. They just want me there. And when they take me there, they invest on me. But Canada is like, okay, what's your distinction? Permanent residency? Sure, it's great. Yeah, of course, Canada is a great country. Everybody wants to be here, but that's not, you know, that's not the only thing that matters.
You talked about program integrity, you know, and one of the questions we have is, you know, with just a few papers, how can the IRCC judge if a startup is genuine or not? So you know, how do we fix program integrity, or can we?
Yes, you can. Definitely you can. If it was up to me, I would give, you know, I would trust, but then I would verify. What do I mean by that? If I'm designated organizations, I put the pressure on designated organizations. And what do I mean by that? I will go check them. I'll make sure they do their job correctly, because I have already delegated that part to designated organizations. Because look at it, you know, Startup Visa program came about in 2013, right? What program did it replace? It was an entrepreneur program that we had. Basically, you had to show you have $300,000, buy a business, show me this and show me that. But all of those things had to be analyzed and decided upon by an immigration officer. But in the new way of doing things, we realized, correctly so, why do we have to engage an immigration officer with particulars of a business? They're not business consultants, right? They're not business gurus. So why should we give them that job? So we said we're going to delegate, we're going to outsource. Decision-making about the business should go to designated organizations. But then if we do that, if you're delegating, if you're saying, hey, designated organization XYZ, we trust you. We give you this designation, give a letter of support to this business, then we have to trust you, right? Then why are we coming and saying, oh, no, you were, you know, we have to take you to court. The client has to take you to court, and then peer review process. And then we know, oh, you didn't play by the rules as a designated organization. We do not de-designate you. We let you keep your designation, but we refuse everybody's files that worked with you. So program integrity, yes, part of it goes back to me as an applicant, because I still can be an Al Capone and, you know, cheat everybody. Sure, you get those apples every time in every system. You have bad actors. But I think the most of the effort should be spent on the system of designation, maintaining that designation, and being accountable. Right now, if you go to the IRCC website right now, I'm an entrepreneur, I'm a foreign entrepreneur, know nothing about this program. I just have a great idea. I look at it. I have about 100 designated organizations. Other than VC, Angel, Incubator, I don't know their difference, right? So why not just tell me how many, you know, just be transparent with your customers, right? And I'm saying this to IRCC, be transparent with your customers. Tell them this incubator had this many applications, of which this many were approved, of which this many were refused. And tell them this incubator has been to court many times and has been designated for not having, you know, abiding by industry practices. So right now, everybody, the least person that the system cares about is the applicant, right? And that applicant is always all the questions. They're coming to you show me what you did. You made an application 6 months ago, show me where you are now. Or you made an application right now. With these processing times, they're going to ask you, you started an application 3 years ago, and show me where you are right now. And based off where you are right now, they're going to make that determination whether you're genuine or not.
Agreed. We got a lot of questions here. I'm seeing them pile up, so I'm going to just start into it. How soon can you apply for a work permit upon receiving the letter of support and meeting the other criteria?
As soon as you have them. As soon as you have the requirements, you can apply for that work permit. Letter of support, proof of settlement funds. For settlement funds for work permit is a different table. They have higher requirements, but for permanent residency is lower. But then again, when you can apply, as long as soon as you have all the requirements, just get your application together and submit it. There's no waiting period.
All right. This is a common sort of thread here. Do you have specific designated organizations that you work with?
We do. In our practice, we have preferences, and we have worked with many of them. And you can't know anybody unless you work with them. So many of them we know. We have had very good experiences working with them. We see them that they really care about clients. And others, we see, people come to us and they say, oh, we already have this letter of support, but we have this issue. We want to do this structuring to our business. We want to get this, we want to get that. And we look at how the DO has treated them, and it's just, very poorly. So there are, of course, there's, and as I said, out of those 41 incubators that you see listed on the IRCC's website, you got to go to the ones, I would say, try them all. Why not? Because you don't have any other option. Why do you want to, take my word for it, right? Just go there, try them out, see them, do your research. You have to do your due diligence. That's the part that is on you as an applicant. Make a list, look at them. First, start with their website. Just get a sense of their taste, what kind of portfolio they have, what kind of businesses they're interested in. And then don't just reach out. Some of them you reach out to, they don't even get back to you. After 5 months, you get a generic email. Hey, you shouldn't have applied to us first. Apply to our business partner that's going to charge you this many thousands of dollars and then come to us. But some of them, they're responsive. You get an associate there, they come to you, they talk to you, they look at the business, they give you a review, they give you an honest opinion. And then if they support you, they really, with you throughout that process. So just, to summarize it, you really do your own due diligence when it comes to designated organizations. Just don't go to the ones that are the easiest, because, the easiest are usually also the more expensive ones. And quality-wise, you can't really count on them.
Now, a lot of people have asked us to name names either of the good ones or the bad ones, and I'm not sure that's wise.
No, I don't think so. Because, in Canada, we're extremely conservative. We're not going to go, I don't know, maybe sometime from now, but not today.
Yeah. And if you're live at an event with me, I'm happy to discuss the people I work with. There's people I mentor with as part of these designated organizations and programs. But yeah, do your own due diligence and, talk to people, reach out to people, and, they'll tell you their experience. Reach out to organizations who have been through the programs and find out what they have. If you're reaching out to them, say, can you give me a list of people who've been through your program, and reach out to them so you get their experiences. Again, in person, I sure we'll both tell you what we think, but on a public forum such as this, it's probably not best for us legally. Next question. I founded my blockchain Web3 company in 2019, and we have been growing since then. I'm not a permanent resident holder nor a citizen. I just have a work permit. I have a local employee and a remote employee. We are looking into this program and feel that they're aligned with 10X, and we'll check the list for the designated organizations. Okay. Is there a question in there? Sorry, I thought there was a question. I guess not.
Good luck.
Yeah.
Sure.
We got a few questions about which incubators are serious about helping startups. And again, not the 22% part. Do your due diligence. All the incubators will tell you about postgraduate. So check the year before and the year before that of people who graduated their program and talk to them.
Yeah, and also talk to the designated organizations directly. And I see this so often. People, they say, oh, this person had a good experience with this DO, but they didn't treat us well. Don't just count on other people's experiences, because everybody's experience is going to be unique and different. Look at how the system works. If the system treats you well, if the system is responsive, if the system cares about your needs, sure, go work with them. If not, try others. And then make a reasonable decision. Because maybe at the end of your process, you realize, hey, none of these designated organizations are catering to my specific needs. Then there you got to make a decision. At least you exhausted your due diligence, you did your own research, and now you have to choose. I hope your choice comes down to good and better, but oftentimes you get to choose, oh, bad or worse. So I have to pick one. But at least you did your due diligence. Don't just count on, oh, this person had a good experience with that guy, so let's just go there and forget about the other 29 that can be a much better fit for what it is that I'm doing.
We have a question here, but what's the best approach to deal with VC organizations, specifically in industrial sectors like biotech? Is there a specific distribution for different sectors in Canada when you're applying?
Not really. Then again, they're all equally listed under the list of designated organizations, but go to each of their websites and they tell you. And one of the things that we said in the beginning of this interview was that venture capitals, as of at least July of last year, since the program got permanent in 2015, they had only 3% of the share of the applicants, 3%. And that's a very, very low number. Why is that? Because then again, they have to commit to a $200,000 investment. And often they do not feel comfortable even committing, because that doesn't mean if they commit to you today, tomorrow they have to release you the check. No, but nonetheless, the ones that are genuine and serious, they do not want to commit to something that big in an immigration limbo. So if I would say, if I were to give you a recommendation, if you're looking for a VC, sure, try the startup ones, but try every VC out there and try, it's tough, it's difficult, because, you're not a Canadian company yet, you're not a CCPC yet, you're not going to be eligible for a bunch of numerous great things that we have in Canada. So you're going to have a tough time. And under the startup visa program, as I said, it doesn't seem like that the venture capitals are comfortable, based on the very low participation rate that I just gave you of 3%. They're not comfortable investing in startups that are still in an immigration limbo.
If you're approaching VCs, approach them like they're going to invest, because that's the whole thing. You've got to target the specific ones that work with your group and with your area. Reach out, not with a long note, but with a short note. What you do, what area you do, where your traction is, and see if you can start a conversation. So VCs is just like trying to get investment, because in the end, you're trying to get investment from a VC in a VC deal. So get your pitch straight.
Yeah, and the
Yeah,
only thing I'd add to that, and go into that process knowing, and there is one thing working against you, and that's your immigration status, at least under the startup visa program, because everything that Craig said is absolutely right. That's how you approach a VC. You just want to go pitch, be at your best, give your best story. But then no, when it comes to negotiations, yeah, we like your idea, but hey, what about 32 months? And we don't know if you're going to get a work permit or not, or all of that. Just walk into that meeting knowing that there is this thing working against you.
absolutely. Is there a magic number of funds that a founder needs to invest in a startup, or interpretation of the financial/budget?
No, some designated organizations, then again, it's a DO thing, because the program itself, the way it's structured right now, it doesn't require you to give an investment commitment. No. But DOs, some of the DOs we've seen that they're asking for good reasons, and they're saying, if your business is at this stage, and if we want to move it from this stage to another stage, we need to see that you have the financial capacity for moving it. So it's some DOs, they ask you, how much do you want to invest? How much do you have? Some, they even ask you for that commitment. They want to verify it. Some, they don't care. But as long as the program And for this is a legal perspective. As far as the program itself is concerned, there is no requirement on the applicant for making any financial commitment to the business.
All right. If someone enters with work permit and considering the startup visa program application processing time of 32 months, it looks hard for someone to sustain completely on own funds in a new country. But again, in part, we see that many designated organizations hungry for money, they do not do the due diligence to ask for money to manage everything for the applicants. Again, sorry, I thought there was a question.
That's a great point, though. I
Yeah.
think everybody needs to, that's a great point. You know,
Yeah.
it's because that's absolutely right. You're coming to this country and it's, you know, it depends on where you're coming from. But Canada, hey, correct. Canada is one of the most expensive countries in the world, I think, right now.
Yeah,
You know,
it's not cheap.
It's a shame that we're one of the most expensive countries in the world. But hey, that's a fact. That's a reality. We'll talk about why it's that hopefully in another talk. But as things stand right now, it's an expensive country, so you have to budget for it. And then yes, with 32 months of processing, so you have to be very, very, very smart about how you define your business goals. Just make sure that if it's not absolutely necessary for you to be physically present in this country, do not make an application for a work permit. Because you're coming here and your work permit is a closed work permit. This is something that you have to remember. You know, your work permit only allows you to work for your startup company. And if you're not yet at a traction level, and if you're not yet at a level that you can at least pay yourself some salary from the business, so, you know, forget profit, can you just, you know, meet the expenses that I have? If you're not at that stage, just be very smart about making that decision for coming to Canada with a work permit under the startup visa program.
What is the approximate processing time of incubators after all the criteria is met?
Oh, you mean in terms of the length of the program?
I guess it is. Yeah, I guess it's a question of how quickly they can get it started.
Well, some they only have it. Really, it really depends on the designated organizations. They only have one intake of applications in 1 year. So you apply by certain date, they take some time, and then they say, okay, come back for second round, third round, and then you're accepted into the program. Some you send them you send them whatever you have today. You know, next Monday they say, hey, this is the letter of support, just pay us this much. You pay, you get the letter of support. After the letter of support, it's just a matter of the program. You know, and everybody's different. If you're going to an incubator, well, you know, the name suggests they're an incubator, they have to incubate you, and usually they incubate you based on a program, right? So some say our program is customized, tailor-made, it really depends on you. Some say no, it's a 6-month program, some say it's a 12-month program, 18-month program. So it really depends on the designated organization. If you're going to an angel or a VC, that's different. They usually give you a roadmap. Okay, we give you a letter of support, this is the commitment, out of this $200,000, $20,000 will be released. If you hit milestone 1, 2, 3, the next 20,000 will be released. Milestone 5, 6, 7, whatever. It's again, it's a designated organization by a designated organization assessment.
Another question here about the same thing is processing time for incubators in terms of getting the letter of support post application. Really, for incubators, it's all about their program. So their program is usually quarterly or twice a year, and they start on a certain date. So when you talk about application time, it's, you know, they have it clear on applications are open from here to here and the program start date is here. So it's pretty clear on, it's only a few weeks between, you know, the close of the application processing and the start of the program. Do you have any thoughts on the processing time from application to going through the process?
No, that again, it really depends. Designated organization by designated organization. You get the letter of support, and then after letter of support, just make sure that you make your application to IRCC. So the clock starts ticking for you sooner than later. After that, it's all about, because this is something that you have to always remember. When you get a letter of support from a designated organization, it comes with a service agreement, especially if they're serving you. And incubators, 100% they're serving you because that's their job. And in that service agreement, you'll see, you know, you have to be very careful reading that agreement, understanding that agreement, knowing what their responsibilities are and knowing what your responsibilities are. But that's where you see What is this program? Do I get an advisor that is just going to have a meeting whenever I call the advisor? Or is it one of those structured programs that, no, we're going to have a meeting every week and there's some certain things, the advisor gives me homework and the program duration is for 6 months, 18 months. That is something that comes after the letter of support and when you have the service agreement. Before that, when you want to get to the letter of support, then again, that all depends on the designated organization and how quick they are with getting back to you. Some of them are just simply swamped because you can't believe how many applications they get on a daily basis. You know, Canada is a popular country. It's probably one of the most popular destinations for every prospective immigrants in the world. So understandably, they're getting tons and tons of meritless applications, like basically meritless. It takes time for them, you know, to read them, to qualify them. Again, as I said, designated organization, different from designated organization.
Is there a 6-month period or threshold that my funds need to be on a financial document as proof of funds for work permit or permanent residence?
That's what for the permanent residency, that's what the instructions say. They say, prove us your settlement fund and show us that you have had this money for the past 6 months, but not all situations are ideal. You had a car yesterday you wanted to sell, you had something saving that had to be converted in cash. So if you don't have that 6-month period, just make sure that you have an explanation letter why I didn't have these funds for the 6 months that you wanted. Basically, what the government is trying to see here is the money you're claiming you have yours, or did you get it from somewhere and you want to pay it back tomorrow? So all they have to convince themselves is, no, this money really belongs to you. So if you don't have 6 months, if you sold your car 2 days ago, you put the money in the bank and you want to get a bank statement tomorrow, just make sure that you have a letter of explanation that, hey, this is the fund. It hasn't been in my account for 6 months, but the money is mine. This is the car I sold. And this is just an example that I'm saying.
That's great. That was a great example. Good info. Do we need to submit a detailed progress report from the time of applying for permanent residency if the IRCC requests for an ADR? I'm not sure what that is, or if anyone entered for peer review.
Yes. So this is the structure of the program. I'm going to explain this a little bit. If an officer is looking at your file and if an officer believes that there's something wrong, that you are here to buy a passport, often they don't have to, but often they send your file to peer review. What's peer review? Who are the peers? The peers of your designated organization. If your deal is an incubator and an angel investor, the peers are going to be the same. The entity in charge is NACO. So NACO sets that up. NACO creates that panel. Your files go there without your name, without your specific information, and the peers sit down together and they really want to decide, did this business organization do its due diligence? Was this a business that has some potential, or no? If not, the peer review comes back and say, hey, we're not convinced that this designated organization give you the letter of support based on industry practice. And then the officer can take that and say, based on this review, I'm refusing your file. So that's what happens. In terms of a status report and what are you doing with your business, it's always best practice to document everything you do, whether it is for a startup visa program or any other business that you do. Documentation is very important. It gives you, that point of reference of everything you do, everything you plan to accomplish. So make sure your documentations are in order. Document everything you do. So when people ask you, hey, are you a genuine startup visa applicant? Then you want to be able to show, for the past 6 months, we held these many sessions, we did that, we did this, we did that, be able to explain and give your story. Because that is exactly how IRCC wants to see you genuinely try.
Our designated organization advised us to enter Canada on a work permit. What do you think? Is getting to Canada on a work permit will account for permanent residency success rate in a positive way?
Not really. No. It doesn't impact it positively, nor does it impact it negatively, because it really depends on the specifics of your case. The only time that I can say 100% certainty do not get a work permit is because you say, who cares about the business? I want to go there. I want to go to Canada sooner. So no, that's definitely a no-no. But if you are sitting down in your, board of directors, whatever it is, however it is that you're managing this startup, make a decision. Do we need to be in Canada? If we do need to be in Canada, then yes, we go and apply for the work permit, and we have good reasons. Because if an officer comes back to you sometime down the road and hey, say, you came to Canada, you said there are urgent reasons for your business to be in Canada. What were those urgent reasons? Well, you explained them in your work permit application, but the officer can say, okay, did you do them? What's your progress? What did you accomplish with your physical presence? So it's going to be a higher burden on you to show that, yes, there were urgent reasons. We came and we did this and we did that. So going back to your question, if your designated organizations is emphasizing on you having a work permit without any business reasons, that's a red flag, and definitely inquire more. Why do you want me there if there is no urgent business reasons for me to be there? But if they're genuine and if they're saying, oh, based on, and they're your advisors, designated organization, what do they do? You know, an incubator is your mentors, your advisors, someone that you have to listen to, you know, you have to trust, because they're the ones who know how the Canadian market operates and works. So if they really have some reasons for you because of your business to be here, attend this seminar, attend that course, attend that meeting, sure, trust them. But blindly, and because there's no urgent business reasons, never do that.
I have seen some startups, they're just waiting for permanent residency to start working for their startup. What do you think about this scenario?
So many people, so many are doing that. They're just waiting to get the permanent residency and come here. See, here's the thing. Here's the divide between how government is looking at it and how a genuine applicant is looking at it. The genuine applicant is saying, yes, I'm willing to do a lot of work for a business that I don't know if I can be able to set up in Canada and go there. Because if you're a business owner and they tell you, oh, we're not going to give you any immigration privileges, more than 90% of the businesses, they say, forget about Canada. You know, and those that they want to maintain Canada and still do business in Canada are big businesses that they don't care about their people being in Canada. But most often it's that I want to know that if I get the immigration status, then I'm going to go and work more and harder in this business on a more serious level. So government wants you to do everything you can. They want you to bend over backwards, sell your home, make this business, create jobs before they even want to give you the permanent residency. But you, on the other hand, say, hey, give me some certainty before I want to, you know, put more time into this business. Because that's one of the important things. Often startup entrepreneurs, what do, man? They have a full-time job. They have another business that they see their potential. So they're working two jobs, right? Nobody says this is a high potential business. And if you go to the history of the unicorns of the world, you see this, you know, playing out all the time. They're having a full-time job. They're working on a small business. They're working on that idea. They're working two jobs. And then at some point of certainty, whether it's, oh, I work with this mentor, now I can go to Canada, I can access wealth, I can access investment, then I'll go there and it becomes my full-time job. But in that process, you know, you want some certainty. So that's the divide we currently have. They want you to do everything before you're here. You want them to give you certainty before you put in more time. And that's the things going on right now.
The IRCC refused work permit for a startup based on the grounds that if the application came to Canada, she won't leave after completion of the work visa project. Is that, you know, a common thing?
It is a common thing, but you can definitely find it. You can, you know, seek professional advice, because an officer, regardless of the type of work permit that you're applying for, it's a visa. So they have to make sure that you're here for a temporary period. How do they make sure that you're here for a temporary period? There's an assessment. How many ties do you have to your country of residence, right? So in your case, they looked at it, and I'm assuming you already have a permanent residency application under this program. And the immigration law, we have something very expressly allowing you as an applicant to have dual intent. What's dual intent? I already have a PR application with you, Canada. I'm telling you my intention is to live there permanently, but right now I'm applying for a temporary visa. So just make sure that that dual intent is expressly before the officer so they know, right? And then, yes, it's a common thing, but then take a look at it. You definitely need to get professional advice, somebody to take a look at your cases specifically, but there are ways to overcome it.
We have another comment here, less of a question, that there's an angel group this person wants to work with in Toronto because they speak their language. I'm not sure if they're a designated organization, but reach out to that angel group and find out what designated organization they work with. If it is a group, they probably work with a couple. So start working through that one if they're the only people who speak your language. Any thoughts on that?
Verify them. Designation, I think, is the least important thing. Although sometimes I often get surprised in my practice that people even don't do that simplest due diligence. The simplest due diligence you can do is just to make sure that they have the designation they claim. So if somebody say XYZ is a designated organization, jump on the IRCC website, look at the list. Language, it's important, right? Canada, we claim, what do we claim? What's our identity right now? If you ask, out of 10 Canadian, probably 8 will tell you multiculturalism. So yes, a cultural match is definitely a big thing, but the overarching is, at least in English Canada, English is the language. So one thing that I tell you before, just learn that language for the sake of your business. The better, the better command of that language you have, the higher chances of the success for your business. But then there's always, always, always value to work with someone that culturally understands you. So yes, that is a strong point, but that should never, never be the only point based on which you define your partnerships, you define your businesses. It's an amazing point to be able to culturally relate, but not the only point.
One last question here. I know we're running late. Does registering a company in Canada help with the PR or work permit visa?
It's a requirement of the program. I didn't really dwell on it in the beginning of this interview. I said one of the 4 requirements under the startup visa program is having a qualifying business. The qualifying business is about ownership, more than 50% being owned by the group of applicants and the designated organization. At the same time, they want you to incorporate your business in Canada. Now, that's one thing that the reason why I didn't emphasize it in the beginning is that the law allows you to even incorporate after getting permanent residency, but it's always good practice to incorporate. And when you incorporate, incorporation on its own, it's really nothing. But the way you organize your business is really important. So incorporate, organize it, structure that business, and try to, be tidy with it. Make sure that you follow all the annual filing requirements, depending on where your corporation is. But it really is important for your application, yes, but also remember that it's not the must in the early stages. As the law allows you, if you have the intention, it's okay for as far as the legal perspective is concerned, but it's always good. It's good practice, of course, to incorporate, organize, and structure your business. You're mute, Craig.
The video will remain up on YouTube for those people who want to review some of those answers and whatnot. We ran late. Is there anything they want a sequel? Yes, we will do another session. Think of your questions. We'll do another session. Send them to me or just think about it. We'll do another one in a couple of months. Do you have any tips or is there anything we didn't cover for people applying for the program?
Plan ahead for people applying to the program. Honestly, plan ahead. Canada is a great country. I mean, other than the obvious country of freedom, country of this and that, which are very important. At the same time, we're a very startup friendly country. We have numerous wealth of resources that you can use. And I think this other stakeholders like myself, Craig, we're going to work together to make sure, raise awareness about this great program and the potentials that it can really have, for our country today and hopefully your country of future. And that's the only thing that I think we need to end this with. Just, keep the conversation going, because right now this is a gem of a potential that we have and we are not using it. We are not using it. And that's really bad. And I think we can improve on that a lot.
And look for a bunch of more resources and videos and educational stuff coming in September and October around exactly this. We're going to do a whole bunch of different sessions. So pay attention for those things. If people want to find out more about you and Shakarian Law, where do they go?
Shakarian.ca. So just, Google my name will come up. You'll find my firm and then you can contact us.
And for people listening on the podcast, all the links will be in the show notes or on the chapter links as we went by. So just take a look and click those links. I really want to thank you for taking the extra long time today to answer all our questions and discuss the Startup Visa program. It's really been informative.
Thank you very much, Craig. It was my pleasure. Let's just keep this conversation going. Let's, improve on this great program and have these entrepreneurs come here and join our Canadian families sooner than later.
That sounds great. Thank you, everyone, for joining us today. We'll see you all soon.